Good morning, Ma. Today's topic is ecosystem. What do you mean by an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a combination of two words, ecological and system. Together, they describe the collection of biotic and abiotic components and processes that comprise and given the behavior of some defined the set of biosphere. Some ecosystems are very large, some may be physically small such as meadow at the edge of the forest or a coral reef in the ocean. Next, I will tell you some examples of ecosystem. An ecosystem is defined as a natural functional ecological unit comprising of living organisms and their non-living environment that interact to form a stable self-supporting system. For example, pond, lake, desert, grassland, meadow, forest, etc. are some common examples of ecosystem. Next, we will see structure of an ecosystem. The ecosystem consists of two components, namely biotic component or living component, abiotic component or non-living component. First, biotic components. The living organisms including plants, animals and microorganisms that are present in an ecosystem form the biotic components. The biotic components can be classified into three main groups, namely producers, consumers, and decomposers. What do you mean by producers? The green plants have chlorophyll with the help of which they trap solar energy and change it into chemical energy of carbohydrates using water and carbon dioxide. Second one is consumers. Animals lack chlorophyll, are able to produce their own food. They depend on the producers for their food. They are known as heterotrophs. Decomposers. Bacteria and fungi belong to this category. They break down that dead organic materials of producers and consumers for their food. The decomposers are known as saprotrophs. Abiotic components. The non-living factors are the physical environment prevailing in an ecosystem. From the abiotic components, they have a strong influence on the structure, distribution behavior, and interrelationship of organism. The list of abiotic factors are clouds, rainfall, altitude, temperature, oxygen, salinity, soil, and water. Function of an ecosystem. Ecosystem is a functional unit consisting of all living organisms such as plants, animals, and microbes in a given area and all living physical and chemical factors of environment. The functioning of an ecosystem consists of first one, energy flow. Energy is the ability to do work or to move matters. The movement of energy through the ecosystem is called energy flow. The next one is productivity. Productivity of an ecosystem means the rate of production, amount of organic matter produced or accumulated by plants or the producers per unit time and area. It is of three types: primarily productivity, secondary productivity, net productivity. Biogeochemical cycling. Primary producers take up the elements from the ecosystem to build their biomass, which is utilized by consumers. What do you mean by food chain? In an ecosystem, energy flows from one trophic level to another trophic level, represent a group of organisms which are either predators or prey. Prey. Producers herbivorous, carnivorous. Two kinds, namely the grazing food chain and detritus food chain. The grazing food chain starts from green plants, crosses onto herbivorous primary consumers, and ends with carnivorous animals. Thus, decomposing food chain begins with dead organic matter, goes to microorganisms, and then passes to organisms that feed on detrivorous and then predators. Food web. What do you mean by food web? The relationship between the food chains are interconnected. This relationship are very complex as one organisms may be a part of multiple food chains. Food web is a graphical depiction of feeding connections among species of an ecological community. Significance of food chain and food web. Food chains and food web play a very important role in the ecosystem. Study of food chain helps in understanding the feeding relationship and the interaction between organisms and ecosystem. Food web also provides information about the biological diversity of ecosystem. Ecological pyramids. Graphical representation of the trophic structure and the trophic function is called an ecological pyramid. They are of three types: pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, pyramid of energy. Types of an ecosystem. There are two primary types of ecosystem, namely natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. A natural ecosystem is a biological environment that is found in nature rather than created by man. Terrestrial ecosystem are found everywhere from water bodies. They are classified into forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, and desert ecosystem. Next, we will see what is aquatic ecosystem. System found in our body of water. It encompasses aquatic flora, fauna, and water properties as well. Aquatic ecosystem are critical components of the global environment. Aquatic ecosystems have been increasingly threatened directly and indirectly by human activities. They are classified into two types, namely the freshwater ecosystem and marine ecosystem. So we have seen all kinds of ecosystem. Now let me conclude. Ecosystem management is the need of the hour to conserve major ecological system and restore natural resources while meeting the socio-economic, political, and cultural needs of current and future generation.